Alright guys, get excited. This is the last chapter of the semester. We're heading into finals. So we'll just have our couple of videos for this chapter, and then you guys will have winter break after our final exam. So let's get started. Properties of exponents. Some of these we've already been dealing with, but let's talk about all of them, and we're going to be continuing what we were doing last chapter with exponents. First property, think of this as like x squared plus x squared. If you have two of them, it's two of them. So you add the coefficients, and you have 2a to the m. A to the m plus a to the m is there's two of them. You do not multiply or do anything else. Number two, though, when you have the same base, like a to the m times a to the n, you can think of this as like x squared times x cubed. If you wrote those all out, you'd have x to the fifth. So you add the exponents. Okay, when you multiply the bases with the same base, you add the exponents. Here, you multiply the exponent. A to the m to the n, which would be a to the mn. Okay, so if that's multiplying, or if number two is adding, when you divide, you have subtracting. And that, again, is kind of like canceling, which we were doing last chapter. You were balancing out the top and the bottom. A to the 0 is 1, and the reason that is, think about it this way. If I have a to the 1 over a to the 1, and I use the property in number 4, I get a to the 0. Well, what is this? A to the 1 over a to the 1 is 1. So a to the 0 will always be 1. And finally, negative exponent. Very important. You flip the term and put it under a fraction. So you turn this into a fraction. So now if you had a negative exponent in the bottom of a fraction, then it would flip back to the top. So it's either top or the bottom that you are flipping the a value to. And then this one you can rewrite as a to the m, c to the m. This only works, though, with multiplication inside. If there's a plus or minus in there, you cannot put the m into both of them. And this is the same thing here, a to the m over c to the m. Alright, so let's work with some of these properties on these examples. Evaluate the expression, give an exact answer. Evaluate means give me a simplified number at the end. Now, rule of thumb. I want numbers if they're in the thousands. So for example, anything in the thousands, give me a number. If it's a huge number, then leave it in, so if it's really big, leave it as the base and exponent. And I'll talk about that because letter D is like that. Alright, so first one, 3 to the 4 to the negative 2. Well, we can multiply these two together. We get 3 to the negative 8. I have a negative exponent, so I take this and turn it into a fraction of 3 over 8. And when you do that, the negative goes away. We moved it to the bottom. And now I'm going to figure out what 3 to the 8th is using my calculator. And you should get 3 to the 8th is 6561. So this is the fraction. Okay? Same thing here. This you can put to both things. You're cubing the 5 and cubing the 8. So 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. 8 times 8 times 8 is 512. And again, if you want to try a couple of these first before we go on, you should pause the video and see how you do. Alright. This one here, remember the negatives don't matter. This is the same base. These are being multiplied. So what do we do to the exponents? We add them. So I get negative 2 to the negative 3 plus 9. So I get negative 2 to the 6th power. And if I do negative 2 in parentheses on your calculator to the 6th power, you should get a positive 64. Alright. This one's a little trickier. Here's what I did first. Notice how this whole thing is negative 5. That means that I can bring that up to the top with the other one. So I have a 9 to the first times 4 to the fifth times 4 to the negative third. Now, when I bring that up, it does not change this negative. Okay? It keeps that one. It just changes that one. So now I'm going to distribute that 5 in because there's multiplication there, so I can do that. 9 to the first times 4 to the fifth times 4 to the negative 15th times 9 to the fifth. Okay? Now I'm going to use the properties of if they have the same base, you can add the exponents, so you get 9 to the sixth, and you get 4 to the, if you add those, you get 4 to the negative 10th. And we do not like negative exponents, so my final answer is 9 to the sixth over 4 to the negative, or 4 to the positive 10th, because I've moved it down now, so now it is positive. And you can leave that one as is because those numbers get kind of big. Alright, good. So we're going to keep going. I'm not going to do all of these. Now we're going to deal with variables. Sometimes the variables people have an easier time with. I'm only going to do, because I don't want this video to go too long, I'm going to go up to letter E. And then in class, the hard ones will come back, and you guys can try F, G, and H on your own if you want, but we'll probably go over those 3 in class. So let's do these first. I get A to the sixth over C to the negative 9th. Again, I do not like negative exponents. It's like having a radical in the denominator. We don't like that. So we simplify it by moving that up, and my final answer is A to the 6th, C to the 9th. Here we have, now here's where we have to think. This negative is like negative 1. Okay? So I have negative 1 to the 5th. I want to keep that just so I know if I have a negative or not. Y to the 10th, because this becomes y to the 10th, times y squared times y to the negative 12th. So I have this becomes negative 1 still, times, when you add the exponents up here, you get y to the 0. And you should know that this property means that turns into 1. So my final answer is negative 1. Okay? So again, all I did was add the exponents there for the y's. Alright, now, you have a couple things you should do. First thing, you should probably put this into that parentheses. So you have r cubed s to the negative 3. Okay. Now, before I do anything, I like to have all positive. So I have r s2 times s3. So there's 5 of them now on top. So and then r3. Now, you can use the property of subtraction. Think about it here. You have like r to the first minus r to the third is r to the negative 2, which basically means that if you get a negative when you subtract, that goes on the bottom and it's positive. Or you can just look at balancing it. This one has more on the bottom, so we're going to cancel one of these out and one of these out, and that's what you're left with. So your final answer is s to the 5th. My s's and 5's looks exactly the same, and over r squared. And there's the final answer. Up here, remember, you have to do, if it's in parentheses, you have to cube the number. So this is 3 cubed times x to the 6th over 6 times x to the 5th. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. You get 27 x to the 6th over 6x to the 5th. Now you can start canceling. Again, 6 minus 5 is 1. And that's 1 is on top because it's top heavy. 27 over 6 can reduce. You can divide both of them by 3, and you get 9 over 2x. 9x over 2. And that's the answer. Alright, we'll do one more. Let's keep the video short. Like I said, though, try the 3. Just try them. Now, one little hint here on F, though. What you can do to start this, there's a few other ways to do for F. You can simplify the inside first and then go from there to make the numbers easier. Alright, so this one, we get x to the 56th over y to the 32nd times y to the 30th over x to the 30th. Alright, so basically we just have to cancel these because these are being multiplied together. 56 over 30 is a 26 on top over 30 over 32 is a 2 on the bottom. And that is it. Okay, so 10-minute video. Again, try these 3. If not, we're going to go over them in class because I want to go through the more difficult ones together as a class. Alright.